It will probably come to be known as the Cooper DeJean play. I hate when officials decide football games and not the athletes on the field, even if the call is justified. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. We break down the game we all love each and every day with you. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. That's our aim, goal, and mission. Let's set the scene in Iowa City on Saturday. Minnesota leads 12-10. They are punting deep in their own territory. Cooper DeJean, one of the best athletes in college football, standing back to get Iowa in position for what possibly could be a game-winning field goal or touchdown. So the punt is short. It hits in Minnesota territory and bounds high into the air. Cooper DeJean is back 10 to 15 yards, and he is pointing with his right hand, probably spotting the football for his return unit. And then also over here, he's doing a lot of this. And at no such time did it appear as though that motion with his left hand went past his shoulder, because it is stated in the rule book that a clearly defined fair catch signal is above the shoulder. And it's a large waving of the hand. So with Cooper DeJean, he's doing something down here. And to the official's defense, I don't know what he's really trying to do. I think it's just more of the same to say, get away from the football, get away from the football, do not touch the football. And I don't know what was going through his mind at the time in regards to, okay, we're just going to down the football and then take it from here. Or I've got a shot at this. I'm sure that decision was made at some point in the process of the ball hitting the ground that he was going to go up there and field the football. The officials let the play resume. They made the statement after the game that they had an idea that it was an invalid fair catch signal, but they would let the play resume. And that has been the tact taken by a lot of officiating crews since there's been instant replay, because if they make a call and stop the play and then they were incorrect on the call, then the play cannot resume and we cannot find out what would have happened had they not intervened. So they stayed off of the call. Cooper DeJean made that miraculous punt return where he catches the ball near the sideline. I have no idea what Minnesota defenders were doing. The first one that blew right by him, Cooper DeJean had basically just caught the football and did not make a move. I believe at my advanced age, I would have pushed Cooper DeJean out of bounds if I was that first Minnesota punt coverage person. Regardless, Cooper DeJean did Cooper DeJean things, made magic happen down the sideline, cut across the grain, crossed the field, juked one guy, and then he was home free for what appeared to be the game-winning touchdown. Now let's also address the game situation and what would have happened, but we will never know what would have happened. Let's say Iowa scores that touchdown to go up 17-12. Well, with Minnesota's ineffective offense and coupled with Iowa's impressive elite defense, it's unlikely that Minnesota drives down the field in the final 132 of the game and scores the game-winning touchdown. It's unlikely, but we will never know. So we don't know who would have won the game. It wasn't the final play of the game. We also know that Iowa still had the opportunity to win the game because the play was after the review called dead, and Iowa had the football at its own 46-yard line. Drew Stevens is an excellent field goal kicker who is, I believe, 3 for 3 the past two seasons at plus 50 yards, hitting on 12 of 16 overall this season. So Drew Stevens and the Iowa offense needed about 21 yards to get him to 50-yard range. They needed to get from their own 46 to the Minnesota 33 for a 50-yard field goal. It was a windy day, from what I understand, there in Iowa City. So for a safe field goal, of course, you would want to advance the football further than that. But Deacon Hill and the Iowa offense charged with at least moving 20 yards, which is many times a difficult task for them. So invalid fair catch signal was determined to be the call after the review. The review also included determining whether Cooper DeJean stayed in bounds, which he clearly did on the punt return. And then it shifted at some point to the evaluation of the fair catch signal, and it was stated to be invalid. Again, a fair catch signal, A valid one is the clear signal above the shoulder with the hand in the air. Cooper DeJean did something down here, and it was very close. It was very close to being above the shoulder with the left arm, while the right hand was pointing toward the football. All right. There are such things as bad calls, and then there are bad rules. I think we're confusing something here. We may have a bad rule on our hands. Tuck rule. You remember it, famously called in the 2001 AFC Division playoffs. Tom Brady, Charles Woodson, that is a bad rule. The officials called it correctly. I believe in this instance that the officials had every right to make that call. Would I have made the call because it was on the border, it was on the line, and it appeared as though the Minnesota punt return team, now I can't get into their heads, but I believe the punt coverage team for Minnesota played it out, was not fooled by Cooper DeJean's actions, that they thought, okay, he called for a fair catch, the ball's going to be dead, play's over, we're good. And then they were caught off guard and surprised. I do not believe that that was the case. I believe that based on the mannerisms and the actions of the punt coverage team, that they were fully prepared to tackle Cooper DeJean and were playing it full throttle. That's what I believe. He caught the football, and two Minnesota defenders immediately went after him. Now, that should not necessarily have anything to do with the call by the officials. They shouldn't be reading the other team. They should just clearly make the call based on Cooper DeJean's actions. However, it does give indication as to what the punt coverage team was thinking, what their actions were, what they were responding to. And it appeared that they were fully in play, 100% in action. Again, bad call versus bad rule. Maybe the rule needs to be revised. I don't know. There were examples given from the Virginia-North Carolina game later on Saturday. However, they did not apply in my eyes. I watched that clip, and completely different situation, completely different actions by the punt returner in that. This is just flat out unfortunate. For me, it's unfortunate anytime a big game, or any game, but a big game, and this was a big game for both teams' chances of winning the division championship and going on to the conference championship, when the players do not determine the outcome. But when the officials need to intervene and they've got to call the playbook, or they've got to call the rules by the rule book, when there's an obvious, so there are judgment calls and then there are black and white to the letter calls. If a player is technically offside, they are offsides. If a player stepped out of bounds, they stepped out of bounds. So boundaries and lines of scrimmage are clearly defined. Now, when it comes to holding, pass interference, these sorts of penalties, it's a judgment call by the officials. And I hate when a game is decided by a call by an official, but sometimes they need to be called. In this instance, I don't believe the call needed to be made. However, within the rule book, it could be called. Yes, Cooper DeJean, for whatever reason, I don't know how he's been instructed. I don't think Kirk Ferentz was very clear after the game in regards to his understanding of what even happened and what the response from the officials was. I'm not going to go through that right now. I read through it, but do not have it in front of me. We will certainly discuss this on our Iowa show coming up on Tuesday night, 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central with Corey Bradda from the Hawkeye of the Storm. I just think it's just unfortunate. Unfortunate. I want the players to determine the outcome of the game, not the officials. It's a tough pill to swallow for Iowa fans, coaches, players that bust their tail. Cooper DeJean makes a play, and it's negated. Again, I don't blame the officials for calling the rule according to the letter of the law. It's just unfortunate. Your thoughts down below. Of course, we want to hear from you here at the Voice of College Football. Now the Big Ten Western Division is up for grabs. Wisconsin's got a one-game lead with one loss, but there is still so much football left to be played from from some very flawed football teams. Again, we invite your comments. That's what we do here at the Voice of College Football. Best discussion, debate, and analysis thanks to you.